are here because the outside world rejects you.
Hey, what's up everyone? This video puts together all of our rankings of all the on-screen Ninja Turtle designs. So every on-screen Ninja Turtle that's ever come out. We rank them all here. Make sure to comment down below and let us know which on-screen Ninja Turtle had the best design of all time. If you could only pick one turtle, who would it be? Who's the best looking turtle of all time? Let us know. But yeah, let's go ahead and start this off with all the on-screen Raphael designs. After that, we'll go down the line and look at the rest of the turtles as well. Not much else to say. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, so the first shows Raphael is iconic. It's the look that everybody knows, the one you still see plastered on merchandise to this day. It's wild how long this design has resonated with fans throughout the years. In my opinion, I think one of the reasons it works so well is the proportions and the shape of his body. He's got muscles, but he's not like super buff, and he's not super stylized with the shape of his body either. His body almost looks like a human body, but with a Ninja Turtle head. Granted, he's got a shell and everything, but even the front part of that looks human-esque to a degree, with the top two panels looking like chest muscles and the lower part looking more like abs, almost like an action figure in motion, which I feel like is a big reason everybody likes it. Let's take a look at what he's wearing. This Raphael is sporting a regular style Ninja Turtles headband with short tie-offs. He's rocking red knee and elbow pads as well as red wrist straps, all matching the red of his bandana. Next, let's jump over to his belt. You see that it's brown with a silver buckle with his initial on it. The belt looks to be tied off underneath the buckle, as you can see tie-offs there hanging down. Next, looking at his shell, you can see that they went with a brown color with dark brown in the crevices. Now, in later seasons of the 1987 show, the Turtles got their designs revamped. Let's take a look at some of the changes here. Most obviously is his head shape. It becomes less round and more boxy. You can also see more of his skin around his eyes than we saw in the previous design. You can also see that the hue of his belt color has gotten brighter, and also that the color of his shell has changed quite a bit. But yeah, let's go ahead and rank this one. Let's start off first with the original design. So the classic look here. I do like this design. Obviously it's iconic. I wouldn't say it's quite S tier, and for those who may be unaware, S would be the best here on the tier list and F would be the worst. But yeah, for me personally, I think this one goes in A tier, so just underneath S. This look is iconic. It has stood the test of time, and personally I just enjoy it. So yeah, I think A tier is good. Now, as for the Red Sky version of 1987 Raphael, so the second design that he got, this one loses a little bit of the charm that the original design had. It's still pretty cool, but not quite as memorable. I think I'm going to drop this one down here to the B tier. So yeah, not a bad start here for 1987 Raphael. Two solid scores there in my opinion, but let's go ahead and move on over to his next on-screen look.
All right, now we can relax, catch some boob tube, and forget about all that weirdness we just went through.
Okay, next let's take a look at our first live action version of Raphael, and in my opinion this is the closest they've gotten to perfection. Only thing better would be a version of this, but with the little imperfections polished over with like CGI or something, where like the head meets the neck and things like that. Although even in this original movie it's not very noticeable. Let's break down how the look of this design changed since the previous cartoon version that had come out. You can see that he does have a similar physique that the cartoon version had, where he has muscles but they're not like over the top huge. What I feel is a big reason that this version and the previous version have stood the test of time. It's almost like they brought the cartoon to real life, but included dark elements from the comics to make them believable. It's the perfect blend. They really hit the sweet spot here. Let's take a look at what he's rocking here. His bandana is the regular style Turtles bandana, except this time he has the longer tie-offs, which looks great, better than the shorter tie-offs. It always looks cool when these longer ones are like flapping in the wind and stuff as they fight. It just makes it feel badass, like Batman's cape flapping in the wind. His face looks great in this, has a lot of attitude. It makes you believe it's a real living being. Amazing what the Henson company was able to pull off with these. Next, we jump over to his knee and elbow pads and wrist straps. Instead of red like in the previous version, this time they're dark brown leather. His belt has also received a change here since the cartoon. No more buckle with his initial on it. The belt is still dark brown, but there's no tie-offs this time. Next, taking a look at his shell, and this looks great. The textures, the colors, and the pattern are awesome. The front torso area looks awesome as well. Now, where does this Raphael go on the tier list here? to me, I think this is perfect. This is the best one we've gotten today. I'm gonna put it right here on S tier. Like I mentioned earlier, the only other thing that could make this just better would be to use the same design, but with today's movie making technology. Other than that, it's perfect, at least in my opinion. So there we go, our first S tier. Let's move on to his next outing, which was the Raphael to the follow-up of this movie, Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah, Leo, I'm crazy, okay? A loony, okay?
Alright, so now jumping over to Secret of the Ooze. While at first glance, this Raphael may look similar to the first movie, there are subtle changes to the overall design. First of all, he's missing that attitude look that I feel fit his character really well in that first movie. His face is more happier here, especially in the eyes. In my opinion, it's almost like they tried to make this Raphael more like the 1987 cartoon Raphael. So in my opinion, this one isn't striking that perfect balance that the previous one did. The rest of his body is pretty much the same, except for some elements around the torso area, which seem a little flatter this time around. He's just missing some subtleties when compared to the last movie. But yeah, there's not much else to talk about here. Let's go ahead and rank this one. I say we put him here on the A tier. It's still impressive that a live action Ninja Turtle looks and moves this good. So I think A is fair, and we'll put it above the 1987 Raphael here, just because this one's live action, which makes it that much more impressive in my opinion. So yeah, A tier right here at the top right now. A step down from the first movie, but not a bad outing at all. Now, speaking of bad outings, let's move on over to Raphael from the third live action movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Part 3.
We kicked their butts. They're all in jail. Besides, we took out the shredder. So what's everybody so worried about anyway?
Okay, so Ninja Turtles 3 went through some big changes with the people that made the suits, and the change was noticeably different. Let's start off at the top here with Raphael. His face and just overall head look flatter. The snout, the cheeks are missing that puffiness and roundness that's synonymous with the Ninja Turtles head shape. I don't know what exactly was changed about the eyes, but they look lifeless here. Next, let's move on to the body. The overall texture just looks more plasticky, and the overall color green is not similar to the first two movies either. It's too vibrant here. Another big change from the previous designs is the liver spots. While the first two movie Raphaels had them as well, they are way more prominent here in the third movie Raphael's skin, and it just sticks out like a sore thumb. Now, a lot of the accessories and add-ons are more or less the same since the last couple outings, but one thing that does stick out is his torso area. The panels of his chest and stomach area look way more flatter and thinner. But yeah, let's move on to ranking this one. Overall, I think this design is a big step down from where they were at. It's definitely not the worst that we've seen throughout the year, so I'm not going to put it at the very bottom, but we'll put it here on C tier, and I would say lower end C tier, like almost D tier, but since it's still guys in rubber suits, which I'm nostalgic for, I'll go ahead and put it here over on C tier.
Ah, nature. I love it. Makes me wanna, I don't know, migrate or something.
Alright, so these next Raphaels are from the 90s specials they did back then. They all pretty much had the same basic base design. There are a few differences here and there, so I've decided to go ahead and bunch them all up here. Let's go through them real quick, just to see what they changed on the design. Let's start off with the Christmas special Raphael, which is pretty much also the Turtle Toons Raphael. You can see that neither have many accessories. It's just the base turtle design. You can see that he has that creepy, nightmare-inducing face with the very wide smile. He's got a regular Ninja Turtle bandana, but the tie-off are like crazy long, like absurdly. Next, we look at the torso chest piece. It looks like it's riding up, and you also see that he has a diagonal strap on his belt, which is not the norm with Raphael. Now, these weird designs did get accessories eventually with like the concert versions of these turtles. You could see that Raphael here was now wearing a jean vest, a red belt with like blinged out X's across it. The belt also had like crisscross straps there that you could see. You could see that sometimes he had a red sweater tied around his waist, some ankle warmers, some white sneakers as well. So yeah, that's pretty much the live action special Raphael. This might be the worst Raphael design that has ever come out. We're gonna go ahead and put it in F tier, down at the bottom. I don't see it getting much worse than this, but as they say, when it rains, it pours. Let's go ahead and move on over to our next version of Raphael, which was from the 1997 show, Ninja Turtles, The Next Mutation.
Hey, guys, like, we're on the air, okay?
Ninja Turtles, now they're live.
The 1997 Ninja Turtles The Next Mutation shows Raphael went through some changes. New things we had never seen before were added. Let's start off with his head. For the most part, the overall shape of the head is that classic Ninja Turtle shape, but something is off about the mouth and eyes. It looks super stiff. The bandana seems to sort of look like the style of the classic Ninja Turtles bandana in a way, but made up of what looks like a torn cloth or something like that. Very jagged and uneven. I see what they were going for, and it does look cool like in the old concept art of this show, but I don't feel like it was executed very well here in live action. Now, moving on to the torso area, there's a lot of changes here from the previous version. One of the most obvious changes is the pattern of the front of the shell. At least that's what I think it's called. This time around, it almost looks like overlapping armor, but it's clearly supposed to be like an organic part of him. They just really stylized the panels here. I feel like it's a bit too much. The simplicity of this area in the 90s movies, even the third movie, just looked more natural here. It just worked. This seems like they were trying too hard. Let's take a look at his belt here. It seems to be a light brown leather material with the diagonal strap. Again, not something Raphael is known for. He usually just has the regular horizontal strap. The diagonal straps are usually reserved for like Leonardo or Donatello because of the weapons they carry. Now, if we take a closer look here, you can see that the belt has a buckle there with Raphael's initial on it. This looks very reminiscent of the 1987 cartoons belt buckle, by the way. Now, moving on to the arms and legs, you can see that they have newly added like bandages here, which we had never seen before in an on-screen Raphael design. And this actually looks pretty sweet. I like the wrapped bandages look here. Now, finally, we go to the knee and elbow pads, and they did something completely new here as well. The straps of the pads are the brown leather material, but the pads themselves are red. An interesting choice. I feel like the colors clash a little bit. But anyways, where do we rank this Raphael? Well, it's definitely one of the worst ones. Is it as bad as the previous one? I don't think so. I think it's definitely above that one, but I do think it still falls into that F tier. So we'll go ahead and put it in there, but above the live action specials Raphael. I think quality wise, this one is just a few steps below Ninja Turtles 3 Raphael. So yeah, I think this is where it belongs. But enough of this one. Let's go ahead and move on over to a fan favorite, Raphael from the 2003 Ninja Turtle show.
Any of you chumps put a scratch on my bike, you're footing the bill. Get it? Footing the bill?
So now jumping back into cartoon territory, we're looking at Raphael from the TMNT 2003 show. And his design did go through some changes here throughout the years, so we'll go through all of them. Let's start off with the beginning. Pretty much the designs that they used for seasons 1 through 5. Now, in my opinion, so far this is the best animated Raphael design we've gotten to date. It's simple, he doesn't have a lot of accessories, but that's exactly why it works so well. Let's start off with the head. It's the classic Ninja Turtle shape, and we have a regular style Ninja Turtles headband with some cool long tie-offs. This Raphael has the all white eyes, which look fantastic. Now let's move on over to the torso. Here we see that the front is pretty simple and self-explanatory. We have the horizontal brown belt that's tied off there in the center, and he also has brown knee and elbow pads and brown wrist straps. Now, one of the most significant changes from any of the past versions is that they went with a light green color for the shell, which is actually to me pretty surprising. I'm surprised they didn't go with a brown. Now, they did change the design of Raphael pretty significantly as time went on, and it's not just the addition of accessories and things. It's almost like they got a new software for their animation or something. This new design came into the fold during the fast forward season, or season 6 of the show. Overall, compared to seasons 1 through 5, this design just looks flat, jagged, and just kind of lazy. Let's talk about some of the accessories that they added here to him. You can see that he has like dark blue gear now covering his arms and his legs, and you can see that his belt is now red with the silver buckle, and then up top you have a matching red chest plate. Now, they did change his design again for the final season, which was the Back to the Sewer season, and you can see that the design is still that flat angular style that they went with in Fast Forward, but they took off all the gear and reverted back to just the brown leather simple accessories that they originally had started out with. It's almost like they blended the original 5 seasons design and the Fast Forward design together. One new thing that wasn't in any of the previous designs was the addition of pupils to the eyes. Now, maybe it's just me and I got used to the all white eyes, but it's kind of off-putting here and doesn't look as good. Now, they did go back to the all white eyes for this Raphael's design for the TV movie Turtles Forever. But yeah, let's go ahead and rank this version of Raphael. We'll rank all 4 designs separately. The first version of this Raphael, so seasons 1 through 5, I think is the best animated design we've gotten to date. Could one come out that's better? Of course. I've seen some ones floating around out there from some like shorts and stuff that Nickelodeon did a while back that look amazing. But we're talking about just the ones that are out and have had shows or movies. And with that said, yeah, this is the best one that's come out. In my opinion, it's as close to perfect as we've gotten happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it up here in S tier, right underneath the original 1990 Raphael. That one's still the top dog, but yeah, right underneath that is not bad. Now the fast forward and the Back to the Sewers design dropped significantly for me. I'm just not a fan of that jagged angular art style. I never have been. I think both of them belong here in C tier. I would say above Ninja Turtles 3 Raphael, but yeah, here in this same tier. I enjoy them about on that same level, but maybe just a little more. Now the Turtles Forever Raphael from the TV movie slightly improved from the Back to the Sewers design, so I'm gonna go ahead and bump that one up. That one we can go ahead and put in B tier, but below Red Sky version Raphael. That seems about right. So yeah, that's 2003 Raphael. Started off great, ended off pretty mid, but let's go ahead and jump back into the movies, this time CG animated with 2007 film's version of Raphael.
This just keeps getting better and better.
Okay, so 2007 Raphael is pretty straightforward. We do have some things to talk about here though. Starting off with the head, we have the classic style Ninja Turtles headband with longish tie-offs. The face looks pretty decent. The torso area looks pretty good. The whole shell color and texture looks almost like an animated version of the live action 90s turtle shells. The belt is a brown horizontal belt that's tied off in the middle, very similar to 2003 Raphael's initial design. Now the biggest change in this Raph's design is the limbs. You can see that this was the first time on screen that he has these frog style limbs. For example, you can see that the base of the legs here start off narrow and then the leg gets thicker as you get closer to the feet. It's the same thing with the arms. It looks like he has Popeye style arms. I'm not a massive fan of this. I remember when this was coming out, it was one of the things that stood out to me that I didn't like. But closing out the design, we have the brown knee and elbow pads along with the wrist straps. These look fine, no complaints here. So yeah, not much else on this Raphael. It's pretty simple. Now where does he fit in on the tier list? This one's hard. I know a lot of people like this one, but for me, those frog limbs takes it down a couple notches. It's not the only time they do it either. They end up doing it in the future here. But yeah, it's not a terrible design. Let's go ahead and put it in B tier. I like it better than the Turtles Forever Raphael, but I don't like it quite as much as Red Sky Raphael. So we'll go ahead and squeeze it right in between there. That's about where it sits for me. B tier is pretty good, not bad, but let's go ahead and move on over to another CG animated Raphael, this time from the 2012 CG animated show, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, you know something, big brother? I'd have to disagree with you on that one.
Okay, so on to the 2012 Raphael. Here we see he again is CG animated. Let's start off with just the overall style here for his design. What would you call this? It's almost like abstract. He's very blocky and his body doesn't resemble real life proportions. I believe it's called a low poly art style. Let's start off with the head. He's got a sort of regular style Ninja Turtles head, but in this low poly style. One change you can see here is that this Raphael has green eyes, which was a new thing. Let's move on over to the torso. You can see that the front of the shell is pretty standard. One thing that stands out here from the design is this little chip on the left pec area, pretty much showing Raphael's rough and tumble attitude. The belt is a thick brown belt, no tie-offs, no buckles, and it's just a regular horizontal belt. And then the shell looks like this. You can see that Raphael has more chips here, kind of how he does in the front. Now, one thing we see returned in the design that we hadn't seen since the Next Mutation is the bandages on the bottom of the legs there. And instead of bandages on the arms, we have them here on the hands and fingers. Now, one design element that is similar to the 2007 Raphael, the one we just spoke of before this, is that they stayed with the frog style limbs that start off narrow and then get thicker at the end. There's also the addition of an extra toe. Usually the turtles have 2 toes. Here we see he has 3. We also see that the trend of brown knee and elbow pads continues. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the design. Overall, in my opinion, it's not bad. There's definitely some things I don't like. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the low poly style in general, but I do see that other people like it. So again, this is just my personal opinion. And then they got the frog limbs again, which as I mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of. I feel like this one falls slightly below the last one we just spoke of, but not too far below. I would put it on the same tier, and that was B tier, although I will put it here at the bottom of B tier. Just looking at the other designs here, I feel like I do enjoy Turtles Forever Raphael, 2007 Raphael, and Red Sky Raphael just a little bit more. So yeah, for me, that's where it lands. But let's go ahead and move on over. The next version of Raphael, this one changed a whole lot about the design. So there's going to be a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Michael Bay version of Raphael.
Mutation roulette. Now you could turn out handsome like me, or you might end up disgusting and deformed, like Mikey here.
Okay, so next up we have Raphael from the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movies as they're known. Now this design probably made the most drastic changes out of any of the previous ones. Let's take a look at the changes. Let's start off with his head. This time we see Raphael with a full over the head bandana, and you can see him wearing some sunglasses there on top. The face seems to have lost a lot of that Ninja Turtle charm. It's almost like it's too human or something, at least in my opinion. Also, you can see the addition of nostrils here. Next up, let's move on to the front of the midsection. You can see that it almost looks like overlapping panels here, kind of like the overlapping panels from the Next Mutation show's version of the character. Now the back of the shell here, I always found kind of weird. It almost makes it look like he's hunched over all the time. Not flattering in my opinion. You can see that his belt is a light brown, this time with the diagonal strap, and you can see that he has some tassels there hanging in the front, as well as some material hanging on the side. Now let's move on over to the limbs. This is another thing I'm not a big fan of. I think the 90s movies got it perfect with his size. Like, he's toned and has muscles in that version, but he's not gigantic. The Raphael in this version is just a little bit too much for me. I'm not a huge fan of hulking Raphael. Finishing off with the limbs, you can see that he has bandages and wraps that are either beige or red, wrapped in different areas, and you can also see some material there wrapped around his lower legs. Now on to how his design changed in the sequel. It's not too much, but worth mentioning. The base design is basically the same with some minor changes. It's the accessories that he's wearing where things get different. Starting off with the top, we take a look at his head and you can see that he no longer has sunglasses up there. Next, in the midsection, you can see that his whole belt system has changed. You can see now it's this crisscross style. Next, you see they gave him some gray shorts, and he also has what appears to be a martial arts white belt tied around his waist. And lastly, you can see that he has all sorts of sports pads scattered throughout his design here. And yeah, for the second movie, that's pretty much it for the changes here. Now, where do we rank this Raphael? Well, let's talk about the first movie, and then we'll talk about the sequel's design. So in my opinion, I think he looks better in that first movie. I feel like a lot of people see it the other way around, but I don't know. I just feel like the textures on him are not as good in that second movie. But with that said, I'm not a huge fan of either one. So let's go ahead and put Raphael here in the D tier. I don't think it's quite as bad as the live action specials or the Next Mutation, which are an F tier there. It's definitely a bit better than those, as technology had improved so much more when the Bay Turtle movies came out. But to me, yeah, I just don't like this design. So I'm going to put it here. And as for the second movie, I think I'm going to put it on that same D tier, but below the first movie, since I don't feel the textures are as good or the accessories that he's wearing. So yeah, sorry to the Bay Turtle fans. I'm not really feeling this one. It's just not my cup of tea. But let's go ahead and move on over to the next Raphael.
Wait!
Alright, so now we're moving on over to Raphael from the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show and movie. The design does change from the show to the movie, so we'll take a look at the changes here in a minute. First, let's start off with how he looked in the show. The most obvious thing to point out about his design is that he's enormous in this version, especially when compared to the other turtles. As we discussed in the previous version that we just broke down, I'm not a huge fan of huge Raphael. I feel like this design might have been cooler if he was like the same height as the other turtles. Let's start off with his head. You can see that this continues the trend of the bandana that covers his whole head. I don't believe I mentioned it, but I wasn't a fan of that in the Bay movies, and I'm not a fan of it here either. You can also see that this version of Raphael has like a fang tooth sticking out. Let's move on over to the midsection. Right off the bat, his whole body just is very spiky. This is because he's a snapping turtle in this version, which I don't think any of the previous versions of Raphael had been a snapping turtle before. So this was a new thing. You can see that he rocks a horizontal belt, and it's red this time, and has an oval buckle with a T on it. I think it's for turtles. If you see the back of the shell, you can see that the spikiness continues here. Now onto his limbs, we see what appears to be red coverings on his elbows, and he also seems to be wearing red compression shorts or something. We got bandage wraps on the arms and ankles as well, and little bandages scattered throughout his body. Now, his design got changed for the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Netflix movie. It was just slightly, but I do think it's an improvement. Overall, he's still massive and has that really sharp angular style, which I don't really like, but there's not really much they could have done about that. It was already established that he was huge and looked this way, but there is little additions here that I feel improved his design. You can see that now he has black wraps, black shorts, and a black belt, and this just looks way sleeker for the character. I wish they would have gone with this from the get-go. But yeah, just overall, this movie version of the Rise Raphael just looks a little better than the television version. Now, where do we rank this Raphael design? Let's start off with the TV show's version first. For what it is, it's clean, but then just the overall style does look weird to me. Same thing with like the Bay Turtles. I know there's fans of this one, but for me, I'm just not vibing with it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on that same tier list with the Bay Turtles. We'll go ahead and put it here on D tier, and we'll go ahead and put it in between the first Bay movie and the second Bay movie. Now, as for the movie version of Rise Raphael, this one is slightly better, so to me that bumps it up here to C tier, but I do believe I enjoy TMNT 3 Raphael, the Raphael from Back to the Sewer and Fast Forward design, just a little better. So yeah, Rise movie Raphael will go right here. But yeah, let's move on over to our next on-screen Raphael, which in this one he is a little bit closer in size to his brothers, and a lot of cool elements from previous versions was brought back. This is Raphael from the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles animated movie.
You have no idea what we've been through tonight. And on top of it all, you steal our DVD!
Okay, so almost at the end here for Raphael. Now we have Raphael from the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles animated movie. And overall, his design to me is pretty cool. Very simple, which I like. When it comes to the Turtles, less is more in my opinion. But that's not to say that there isn't some things I would have preferred with this version. Let's start off with his head. You can see that it's very square, but this kind of looks cool because he has this big jaw that makes him look like a badass. You can see that he has a classic old school Ninja Turtles bandana with long tie-offs and white eyes, which looks fantastic. And you can see that he has a scar there on his left eye as well. Now let's move on over to his midsection. This Raphael's front torso appears to be made out of 8 panels. Usually I feel like the standard is 6 for him, so it does look kind of strange, makes him look a little bit long here, but it's not a deal breaker. The back of his shell is pretty standard with the hexagon pattern. Next, you can see he has a really thick brown horizontal belt that looks like has bandages wrapped in the back. If you look at the front, you can see he has a hidden lowercase r there for Raphael. Next, let's take a look at his limbs. Here's where I have some minor issues with this design. You can see again they went with the frog style limbs where it's thin at the top and it gets thicker as it goes on. As I mentioned, I'm not a fan of this in general, although I feel like it's not so bad here on the arms, but it's definitely not flattering on the legs in my opinion. It just looks way too thick down at the bottom by his feet, and I'm just not feeling it. This Raphael has brown knee and elbow pads and also bandages wrapped around his hands. Now overall, I do like this design. It's definitely up there with some of the better ones, even with some of the issues that I have. It's not perfect, so it's not at the top, but I do think it's somewhere here around A tier. I think I'm going to put it here slightly under Secret of the Ooze and 1987 Raphael. I think those are just a bit better, especially with how iconic they are, but right under them I don't think is bad. This is definitely not bad company to be in. So yeah, props to Batman vs. Ninja Turtles Raphael.
You could have killed them! They're fine. Did you know there was a dumpster there?
I might have. Yeah.
Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at Raphael from the CG animated movie Mutant Mayhem. So just in general, I do like this design. There's definitely some above it for sure though. We'll go ahead and take a look at that when we put it in the tier list. But there is something about this one that has a lot of charm. It seems like they got a lot of inspiration from past versions that worked well and put it all together into this version. Let's start off with the top. One thing that they brought back, which by now you probably are aware of that I'm not too fond of, and that's the full head covering bandana there. I feel like if they would have went with a regular style Ninja Turtles bandana here, this would have been almost perfect. Now he's got a regular-ish Ninja Turtles shape head, which is good. I do like it when they keep this element. That shape is just so iconic now. Let's move on over to the torso area. The front and back of the shell look pretty sweet. The back of the shell reminds me a lot of the 1990 movie shells, so huge points for that. I love the texture there. You can see that this Raphael has a black horizontal belt with a buckle on it with his initial, and the initial is in yellow. This whole belt and belt buckle looks like they got inspiration from the original 80s action figures. I think it looks pretty cool and nostalgic for sure. You can see that he has a little compartment there or pocket attached to the belt. Now moving on to the limbs, he's got regular limbs, so not like a frog style, which is great. I do wish he had a tad bit more muscle on him. Not too much, as we discussed earlier. I don't want him to be huge, maybe just like a little more definition or something. I feel like this is something they could adjust in his design as he gets older in the series, by the way. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, overall, as for like enjoyment level of this design, I enjoy this one about on the same level as the previous one we just spoke of, the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles one. Although that one had the weird frog limbs I don't like, but then this one has the full head covered bandana, but I think I can live more with the bandana than I can with the frog limbs. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one slightly above the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles Raphael, so A tier right there in the middle. Now since this is a series that's still going on, I'm super excited to see if they make any changes to the design in any future projects. Hopefully we see some slight upgrades here as they move forward. But yeah, overall not bad for Mutant Mayhem Raphael.
Talk! I dream about fighting every night.
You got a rage problem, right?
That's not a problem.
up, let's take a look at the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Raphael. His design is obviously very similar to his Mutant Mayhem design, as this show is a continuation of that movie, but I think his design actually looks a little cooler in the show. Something about his head shape that they changed that looks a little better. It's more of that classic Ninja Turtles shape. In the movie it was kind of like that too, but it was a little less symmetrical, liking the way it looks more here in the show. The rest of the design is pretty much the same as in Mutant Mayhem, but in 2D instead of 3D. Everything except for these crisscross belts here that they added. I like him better with just the horizontal belt, but this doesn't really ruin the overall design for me. Overall, I like how Raphael looks here, and I think he falls about here for me on the tier list.
You ready to break up?
Next up, we have Leonardo. His design went through a bunch of changes throughout the years, and we're going to place him here on the same tier list that we did for Raphael. So we're going to see where his designs fit in here with Raphael's designs. So that should be pretty cool. Alright, so we're taking a look at Leonardo from the 1987 Ninja Turtle show, and I mean back then, design-wise, the Turtles weren't that different from each other, so I do like this one pretty much on the same level as the Raphael from 1987, who's right there on A tier, but I'll put this Leonardo just slightly below Raphael, only because, to me, I feel like Leonardo should always have those diagonal straps, and we don't have them here. But other than that, I like this design. No one can doubt that these are certified classics. So yeah, he's right there under 1987 Raphael. Now, similar to the Raphael design in this show, in the later seasons called the Red Sky seasons, they got a design change, and they got that like boxier, edgier look. You can even see Leonardo here on the poster for when these new designs rolled out, and you can see that the poster says, "Enough of the good guys stuff, the Turtles get tough this season." And yeah, you can see the little changes there, similar to how we saw with Raphael. You could see the green around the eyes, and the belt, that's a different shade of brown. Now, I like this version of Leonardo, the same as Raphael from these Red Sky versions, so we'll put him right there, right underneath Raphael, right here on B tier, just because he is missing those diagonal straps that I feel like you just have to do with Leonardo. It's kind of weird when he doesn't have it, at least for me. But yeah, that's it for 1987 Leo. Let's go ahead and move on over to 1990 Leo.
Shredder could show up anytime, any place.
Man, Leonardo, you are such a downer.
Okay, so next up we have 1990 Leonardo from the first live action movie, and you can see him right there. Looks amazing with the regular style Ninja Turtles headband, the long tie-offs. I love his build in this version. He's got muscles, but he's not super hulking. Looks just right. You can see that he does have two skinny diagonal straps coming from his belt, and you can see that he wears his swords crisscross on the back there, which looks great. And yeah, other than that, pretty much just like Raphael with the brown knee and elbow pads, the highly textured and detailed body and shell, and yeah, just a wonderful design. So he's going up there on S tier. Now, I'm not sure if I should put him above Raphael or below Raphael. I think I like Raphael's design just a tad bit more. I like the attitude look that he has on his face, but that's not to shortchange Leonardo here at all. His design looks great as well. I think it's more of a personal preference thing that I like that Raphael has that attitude look. So yeah, right there on S tier, just slightly under Raphael. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on over to the Leonardo from the follow-up to this film, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. Alright, so here we're looking at Leonardo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. Now at first glance, just like with Raphael, you might think that he looks the same as he did in the previous movie. But if you look closer, you can see the subtle changes that were made to his design. There's not a lot of them, but let's go over them real quick. First up, and this I don't think we mentioned on the Raphael video, you can see that his headband is a lot cleaner in this version. If you look at the first movie's bandana, it's very gritty. Obviously it's blue, but there's like a certain tint to it, like he's gotten it dirty over time. Now if you look at the second movie, it's just a bright blue. I prefer the look of the gritty bandana in that first movie, but yeah, that's just me. Now the structure of the face is also a bit different. It's mostly like in the snout area. It's not as puffy or something, and the eyes don't quite look the same either as they did in that first movie. Now other than that, the body pretty much looks the same. Now I don't know if it's my imagination, but I feel like the textures are a little bit better in the first movie when it comes to the body here, but not a huge difference. So yeah, where do we rank this Leonardo here on the tier list? Now, I feel like this was a downgrade compared to the first movie, but the changes aren't like criminal, and it's still impressive that a live action Ninja Turtle looks this good. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put him there right next to Raphael from the same movie. I do prefer Raph's face just a little bit more. I don't know what it is about Leo's face here in this second movie that I don't like as much, but again, not criminal, but definitely a downgrade when compared to the first movie. But yeah, that's it here for Secret of the Ooze Leonardo. Let's move on over to the third movie that came out after this. That should be pretty interesting.
Wishbone Crunch on 2!
Alright, so we're moving on here to Ninja Turtles 3 Leonardo, and man, they really did a number on him. I think he's probably the worst looking out of the four brothers in this movie. It's something that they did to his face. It's like super elongated or something, and it's a huge step down from the first two movies. Just like we spoke of when we talked about Raphael, the liver spots are way more prominent here in this design, and it doesn't look good. Same thing with the tone of green that they used. Other than that, the accessories and stuff are pretty much the same from the previous movies, the brown knee and elbow pads, and the belt with the two diagonal straps. But I don't know, what they did to his face, I feel like is pretty rough. He's definitely under Raphael from this same movie. So that was the C tier, but I believe he might be at the bottom of the C tier here. So yeah, there, we'll put him right there at the bottom. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to put him in D tier. We'll put him at the top of D tier. Because even though Raphael looked weird in this third movie, they didn't elongate his face the way they did with Leo. That just looks strange and throws it off so much, at least for me. So yeah, we'll put him right there and move on over to the live action specials version of Leonardo.
Yeah. Boy, do I hate spinach.
Alright, so this is the Leonardo from the live action specials back in the 90s, and they had quite a few of them. They had the concerts, the Christmas special, the Turtle Tunes musical, and a couple others. And yeah, they look bad in this version, all of them. And when we did Raphael's video, we put him as the worst looking turtle. And I think it's no different here with Leonardo. Now, when they're in their base designs, without like any of the clothes, he does have a diagonal strap, and so did Raphael, but that's not usually a part of Raphael's design, at least not how I see it. So I'll put the Leonardo from the live action specials just above Raphael. So Raphael from these specials is still the worst looking turtle to me, but this Leonardo's not far behind. Definitely the worst looking Leonardo out of the bunch. But with that said, let's go ahead and move on over to another not so great looking Leonardo from the 1997 show Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation.
No Bebop and no Rocksteady. La 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 la. Ninja Turtles now they're live.
Alright, here we have Leonardo from the Next Mutation live action television series from 1997. And you can see when it comes to like the body, he got pretty much the same treatment that Raphael did, with like the new layered torso on the front there. He's got a belt with one strap and his initial, and he's got the colored knee and elbow pads and the new wraps on the arms and the legs. Now when it comes to the head, this is where we have something different than what we saw in Raphael. So up until this point, Leonardo has had a regular Ninja Turtle style headband, but not here. Here we have him with the full head covering bandana, which in my opinion I don't think looks as good as the regular style Ninja Turtle mask. So yeah, not feeling that very much. Let's go ahead and take a look at where he fits here on the tier list. You can see that we put Raphael on the F tier, but above the specials Raphael. Leo I think also goes on that same tier, but we'll put him below Raphael. Still above the specials turtles, but below Raphael. Raphael still had the regular style Ninja Turtles mask, although it was all tore up and stuff. But Leo has this new full head covering thing, and yeah, I just don't like it as much. So yeah, that's it for the Next Mutation Leonardo. We're really flying with these early ones, as they're pretty much similar to their Raphael counterpart, so there's not really much to break down that we haven't already broken down in the Raphael tier list. But as we get more and more closer to present day, each turtle did start having his own unique look, so we'll definitely start breaking all that stuff down when we get there. But as for now, let's go ahead and move on over to the 2003 version of Leonardo.
Raphael is the most inconsiderate, self-absorbed, me guy I know.
Alright, so next up we have Leonardo from the 2003 show, and he had a few different looks throughout the years. The first one, which is his main look that he has for seasons 1 through 5, looks great. You can see it right there. I feel like this is the best the Turtles have ever looked in animation. They just look like badass Ninja Turtles. His design's super simple, very similar to Raphael's, except he's got the diagonal strap. But yeah, just a great design overall. I like the proportions and the shape of him. But yeah, with that said, we're gonna go ahead and put him on the S tier right there. I'll put him above Raphael. I just think this Leonardo really steals the show in this version of the Turtles. They all look so similar, but he kind of edges it out just a little bit for me. Maybe it's the diagonal strap. He just looks a little cooler. But yeah, his design does change, as we mentioned earlier. In season 6 of the show, which was named Fast Forward, you can see that he got this design, which looks a lot flatter, a lot more angular, not as cool looking in my opinion. And then he's got all these attachments and stuff, not really feeling it. And it's very similar to the changes that Raphael got as well. The chest plate on Raphael does look a little cooler, so I'll go ahead and put Leonardo just right there next to Fast Forward Raphael, but underneath them, just because I guess the chest plate just looks a little cooler on Raph. But not much of a difference there. Then in season 7, the Back to the Sewer season, Leonardo's design got changed again, and we got this one here. You can see that they added the pupils to the eyes, which is the biggest thing that this redesign is known for. I do think Leo looks a little cooler than Raph here, so we'll go ahead and put him in C tier at the top, above Raphael's Back to the Sewers. I do like that they went back to the simpler design without all the attachments and stuff, but the whole like design style where it's like super angular like that, I don't really like. I like it more when they're rounded off and not so jagged. Finally, this Leonardo from the 2003 show got another redesign for the TV movie Turtles Forever. You can see him right there. The design looks pretty similar to the Back to the Sewers design, but they went back to the all white eyes, which I think was a good move. So he's kind of bumped up from C tier in my opinion, and moving on over to B tier here. And he does look a little cooler than Raphael with like the sword sticking up and stuff. So we'll put him right there above Turtles Forever Raphael. But yeah, that does it for 2003 Leonardo. You can see that the tier list here is coming along. Next, let's move on over to the 2007 CG animated movies version of Leonardo.
Master Splinter is so going to kill us. Well, you coming or what?
Alright, next up we have Leonardo here from the 2007 CG animated movie TMNT, and the design here is pretty straightforward. Regular Ninja Turtle headband, long tie-offs, brown knee and elbow pads. Now, just like with Raphael, I'm not feeling the frog limbs where it's like skinny at the base and it gets thicker as it gets closer to his hands and feet. Just not a huge fan of that style. I like it when their limbs are more like human-esque in the way they're shaped. This just makes it look like they have these giant mittens as hands, and it just looks weird. A little different than Raphael. You can see that he has his signature diagonal strap. Sometimes it's two little ones like we saw in previous versions, but here he has the solid one. Not a huge deal. I think if Leonardo has a diagonal strap or two, it doesn't matter, but he does have to have one, I feel like. The face is subtly different than Raphael's. Although it looks like a copy and paste, there is some subtle differences there. And with that said, those subtleties, I feel like push this Leonardo just a little bit higher than Raphael. I just think he looks cooler in the face area. In 2007, Raphael was right here in B tier, and above him was the Red Sky Seasons version of Raphael and Leonardo. Now, does this Leonardo 2007 Leonardo look better than those two? That's kind of hard because in the face, I feel like he does. But and then he's got those limbs that I'm not a big fan of. This one's super hard, but I can live with the Red Sky version's faces. I'm just not vibing with the frog limbs. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and put this here below the Red Sky versions of Leo and Raph, but above 2007 Raph. Just because Leo's face here looks a little cooler. But yeah, anyways, that's it for 2007 Leo. Let's move on over to the 2012 television show's version of Leonardo.
You aren't ready! You're impatient and hot-tempered, and more importantly, I'm better than you.
Alright, here we got 2012's version of Leonardo. Let's go over his design here. As we know with this show, they went with that low poly art style where everything looks like it's not rendered completely. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the show's great, but the art style, I never really liked that much. But I do like the show. Now, you can see here, he has bandages on his feet and his hands. He's got the brown knee and elbow pads, and he's got the belt with two little diagonal straps again, which we haven't seen in a while. Now, where does he fit here on the tier list? Well, we put 2012 Raphael on B B tier here at the bottom. So underneath Turtles Forever, Leonardo and Raphael. And I do think I like Raphael's design from 2012 just a little more than Leonardo's. Something in the face just looks better. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put Leo right there underneath 2012 Raphael. Not a huge difference, but yeah, I think he fits good there. He's definitely better than Back to the Sewers, Fast Forward, and all these. So yeah, I think he fits good right there. And that leaves us with Michael Bay's Ninja Turtles version of Leonardo up next. Alright, here we got the 2014 Michael Bay version of Leonardo, and overall, I just don't like how any of the turtles really look in these movies, but with that said, I do feel like Leonardo is the best looking out of the four. Let's take a look at him. I feel like they kept the Ninja Turtles shape of the head the most with him. He's got the regular Ninja Turtles headband, although it does kind of go over the cheeks a little bit too much. Now, the snout area isn't puffed up like how we're usually used to. Instead, it's flat and he has two nostrils. I'm not a fan of the turtles having nostrils. I know that's something that's been going on more recently. Not a huge fan of it. It kind of takes away from their iconic design, at least in my opinion. You can see him there with the diagonal strap on his belt, and then across his chest, he has like this shield made out of sticks. You can see he has shoulder pads and some tattoos, as well as some materials and cloths here hanging from his belt. Down by his feet, you can see he has some wraps around his legs, and he's wearing like these mesh shoes. Now, his design did go through some changes in the second movie, but let's go ahead and rank this first movie version first, and then we'll take a look at what he looked like in part 2. So 2014, we're going to go ahead and place him above 2014 Raphael, which he was down here in D tier. So he's getting bumped up to C tier up here. And I do think I like him more than Rise Raphael. So yeah, I think I'm going to place him right here. TMNT 3 Raphael from the 90s didn't have the elongated head like TMNT 3 Leo. He doesn't look great, but it's all right. And they're about like on that same level, especially like in the face, where they sort of look like a Ninja Turtle, except Leonardo here from the 2014 movies is gigantic, which to me, that makes him lose some points. So he goes underneath TMNT 3 Raphael. Now, in the sequel to the 2014 movie, Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, they did do some design changes for Leonardo. And I don't know, I like that first movie's version a little better. I feel like the textures aren't as good here in this second movie. His face has some minor changes here, as you can see. And he's also wearing different accessories. They've given him pants, a new type of strap here on the chest, and no more shield made out of sticks here going across his chest. And he lost the shoulder pads. And yeah, I don't really like this design as much. I do like him better than Out of the Shadows Raphael, and I think I do like him better than Rise Raphael. So I'll put him right here underneath the 2014 Raphael. I feel like that's a good spot for him. 2014 Raphael had better textures, I feel, but they're pretty much on the same level, except those better textures that Raph has puts him a little bit above him. So yeah, that's where Leonardo from the Bay movies fit. Let's move on over to Rise of the TMNT.
Now, I knew they couldn't handle the truth about the Purpaloos, and you know what? They proved me right.
Alright, now we're doing Rise of the TMNT Leonardo, and there's two different versions of him. There was his design from the television show, and then his design from the Rise of the TMNT movie. Let's start off with the television show version first. You can see that the character went through some major changes again. Let's start off with his head. They gave him like a regular Ninja Turtle style headband with the long tie-offs, although it's really stylized in like this really angular way that these characters are animated in, but it is like the regular style headband. Now this version of Leonardo is a red-eared slider, they said, so that's why he has those red markings there underneath the mask. It's an interesting look. I don't know if the red clashes too much with the blue. I never hated this, but I was never really sold on it. I'm not really sure how I feel about that one. Now, the shape of the head is super angular, and that's the same with his whole body. You can see they gave him these gloves here, but he has the fingers cut out, and then he's carrying like this little satchel on his belt there, and he does have the diagonal strap, although the entire belt is blue here, which is a new thing. And he has a buckle there with the T on it. Now, throughout his limbs, you can see he has these yellow markings, and then down by his feet, he has some like foot protection there, but with like the toes cut out. Now, where do we put the Rise Leonardo's television show version here on the list? Well, the television show's version of Rise Raphael was here on D tier, close to the bottom. I do think he looks better than him just because he's not as massive. He's like regular Ninja Turtle size, which I think is good. You don't want them too big. I feel like they're supposed to be underdogs, and I feel like he does look better than the rest of the turtles here on D tier. So I think I'm going to bump him up to C tier here at the bottom, right under Rise of the TMNT movie Raphael. I feel like that's a good spot for him. Rise of the TMNT movie Raphael is also massive, but you can tell that the quality of the design design is a lot better. They definitely stepped it up for the movie, so I'll go ahead and leave him right there, and then Rise of the TMNT television show version of Leonardo right there. But yeah, let's move on over to Rise of the TMNT movies version of Leonardo, which I think was a huge upgrade. I feel like if all the turtles would have looked somewhat like this when they did this show, like this size build and the accessories that he's wearing being all black like this, I feel like it might have helped a little bit more with that show. So yeah, definitely a cooler look. I feel like he fits somewhere here at the top of C tier. So let's start off here with Rise of the TMNT Raphael from the movie. I think he looks cooler than him. He looks cooler than Bay Leonardo and cooler than TMNT 3 Raphael. Here when we get to the fast forward back to the sewers versions of the turtles is where he starts looking like he fits in a little bit, although he looks a lot cleaner and crisper than these guys. So maybe we'll bump him up here to B tier, right under the 2012 turtles. Yeah, I think that's a good spot for him. But yeah, that does it for Rise of the TMNT Leonardo. Not a bad spot to be in there, at least for the movie version of him. Next we move on over to the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles animated movie.
License and registration.
Alright, now we're looking at Leonardo from the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles animated movie, and his design looks pretty sweet. Now, one of the big changes you could see off the bat that wasn't in any of the other on-screen versions of the character is that now he doesn't hold his swords on his back. Instead, he holsters them there on his side. A super interesting change. I'm not a huge fan of this. I like it better when he has it on his back. Now, the face looks pretty cool. It's very round. I wish it was more like the Ninja Turtle shape, but it looks okay. He's got the all-white eyes, traditional style headband, which I like, and then the brown knee and elbow pads. He does just have a regular horizontal belt, no diagonal straps, which is kind of a bummer. I think that's kind of like a staple of the character now. And then he does have the type of limbs that start off narrow and then get wider as you get closer to the feet and the hands. So yeah, not a massive fan of that either. That's not to say that I dislike the design. I do think it's okay. I like how dark and gritty he looks and how he doesn't have a bunch of accessories everywhere. Now here on the tier list, we had put Raphael from this same movie at the bottom of A tier. Although I do think Raphael does look a little bit better though. So I think I'm going to go ahead and place Leonardo from this version somewhere here in B tier, and I think the best spot for him is right underneath the 2007 Turtles. I do like him better than the Turtles Forever movie Leonardo. They actually look pretty similar, except this version's a little darker, so I think he edges it out. So yeah, Leonardo from the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles animated movie, right here, right in the center of B tier.
The way he fought, avoiding lethal blows, he wanted to figure us out. Like a detective.
Alright, and lastly here for Leonardo, we have the newest version of the character, and that's from the recently released Mutant Mayhem movie. You can see him right there, and just overall, I think he looks great. Out of the four brothers in this new movie, he looks the best. I like his proportions, I like the shape of his limbs. Let's start off with his head. You can see he has the traditional style Ninja Turtles head shape, and the classic Ninja Turtles mask with the long tie-offs. You can see his build. He is athletic, although I wish he did have a little bit more muscles. I feel like that's the only thing missing on him, although he is young in this version, so maybe that's something that happens as he gets older. You can see he has the belt with two small diagonal straps, which looks great. He's got the buckle, which is a cool callback to the original 1987 show, although they did it in the style of the original toys, which looks pretty cool. You can see that the knee and elbow pads and the wrist straps are all blue, which again, a nice callback to the original toys and the original cartoon. Now, where do we rank this Leonardo? I think pretty high. If he had a little bit more muscle on him, I could potentially see him there on S tier, but we're talking about the way he looks right here, right now, and I think if that's the case, he almost looks like an upgraded version of the 1987 show's version of the character. So definitely above him. And I want to say I like his face more than the Secret of the Ooze version of the character as well. So I think I'm going to place him right here, right in between Secret of the Ooze Raphael and Secret of the Ooze Leonardo, which is pretty good. There hasn't been a new version of the Turtles really this high up on the list. He's the first one and might be the only one this high up on the list. So that's pretty good.
The target is across the street. We must use stealth and cunning to infiltrate the human world and retrieve Go-Gurt.
Next, let's move on over to Leonardo from the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle show. His design I don't think surpasses the Mutant Mayhem design like how Raphael's did, but then again that's because the Leonardo design from Mutant Mayhem looked pretty great. I thought he was the best looking turtle in the movie. So yeah, this Tales of the TMNT Leonardo had a little bit of a tougher competition to his movie counterpart. Now I don't know if it's because of the 2D design, but here in the show he does look a little more skinnier than he did in the movie. I feel like they need to pack a little more muscle on his design there, but not to harp too much on this design, I still overall like it, and it's still pretty high up on the tier list for me. We'll put it up here in the A tier, but lower than Tales of the TMNT Raphael.
You almost hit me! Oh, you got it right in the jaw.
Now we're going to go ahead and rank all of the Donatello on-screen designs. Alright, so Donatello from the 1987 show should be pretty quick. The turtle designs in this show are all pretty much carbon copies in terms of their designs, but I like the designs. So yeah, we'll go ahead and put him here with the rest of the 87 turtles. And same thing for the Red Sky Seasons version of the character. He can go right here with the other Red Sky turtles. So original 1987 designs in A tier, and Red Sky Season design here in B tier.
Hi guys, did you miss me?
To the max, dude.
Alright, now we're jumping into the original 1990 movie version of the character. And in this first movie, as many of you know, each of the turtles have their own unique designs, little subtle changes in the faces and the body that differentiate each turtle. Let's get through some of the design elements. I like this Donatello's head and face. I think it's the best he's ever looked, to be honest. I like the type of purple that they picked for his headband. I love how dirty and gritty the headband looks as well. Let's move on to the torso. He's got a diagonal strap on his belt, which makes sense for the type of weapon that he carries. And yeah, just overall here, his physique looks fantastic. Let's go ahead and rank him. I think he's the second best looking turtle in this first movie, so I'm going to put him right here on S tier, right under Raphael. Super cool looking Donatello.
You're a claustrophobic.
Alright, next up we have Secret of the Ooze Donatello. Now body-wise, this Donatello hasn't changed much from the first movie, other than some little texture details, but the face has seen some significant changes. I don't know if when making the second movie, they lost the mold to the first Donatello head from the first movie or something, or if it was because the technology changed and now the machinery was in the head part of the costume, but Donatello looks significantly worse in Secret of the Ooze. He looks like he ran into a wall or something. You can see that he has like an underbite now that he didn't have in that first movie, and also the bandana is not as gritty and doesn't look as cool. So yeah, where do we place him? I think the face really does knock off a lot of points for me. It's such a big downgrade. I don't think he's on A tier with the other Secret of the Ooze turtles that we ranked earlier. He's definitely below that. Now, it's not the worst looking design we've ever seen. It's still one of the better ones overall throughout the history of the turtles. So yeah, I think we'll put him here in B tier. Debating putting him above or below 2012 Raph and Leo. I think I'll put him above just because it's live action, and it is still impressive that they look this good in live action, but still a massive downgrade from that first movie. And the downgrades continue. Let's go ahead and move on over to Ninja Turtles 3 movie Donatello.
I've got to get the hang of that.
It's okay.
I'm gonna get you out of here.
Alright, now we're moving on to Ninja Turtles 3 Donatello. And yeah, these designs from this movie just put a stop to the party in my opinion. These designs I feel like was a big part that ended that first wave of Turtle Mania from back in the 80s and 90s. The Next Mutation designs were like the final nail in the coffin, but these designs here started the fall from grace. Okay, so Donatello's face looks completely different than the past two movies. It doesn't look remotely close to the molds of the first movie or even the second movie. The snout area looks really flat and it loses that Ninja Turtle shape. The headband color is also lighter here. I like the darker purple better from the other movies. As for the body, similarly to how we discussed with the other turtles, it's okay. They kept the belt. The muscles on the arms and legs look cool, but the torso area feels a bit flatter, and of course the liver spots being more prominent in this design is something that people always talk about. But where does this Donatello fall on the list here? Well, I think he looks better than Leonardo from this same movie, so definitely above him. I don't think he looks better though than Raphael from TMNT 3 or better than Leonardo from the Bay movies, but I do like it better than Rise Raphael, so we'll go ahead and put him right here on C tier. But yeah, that's TMNT 3 Dawn. Let's go ahead and see what's next.
Then I can take the flangular and put that here. Oh, that's it. Of course. It's equal mass displacement.
Alright, this should be a quick one considering these turtles pretty much all look the same, and we've already ranked Raphael and Leo, and that's the live action specials from the 90s version of Donatello. We're kind of bunching them all up together in one category here. So yeah, these are like the Christmas turtles, the concert turtles, they all have that same base turtle design. And yeah, these were considering the worst designs. These were placed here at the bottom of F tier, and we'll do the same with Donatello. We'll put him here though at the very bottom. These designs are just so creepy.
You know how, like, when you walk around sometimes and there's garbage everywhere?
Next up, we have Donatello from Ninja Turtles, The Next Mutation. Now, I'm not feeling this design either. It's actually a little worse than Raphael and Leonardo from this same show, and that's mostly due to the headband here. Body-wise, he looks very similar to the other turtles, but this headband bandana is probably one of the most unique Ninja Turtle masks of all time. It wraps around the whole head, around the cheeks, and instead of two openings for the eyes, it's just one big opening. Looks kind of weird. I'm a simple man. Just give me a regular classic Ninja Turtles bandana with long tie-offs and we're good. Anyways, his design is my least favorite in Next Mutation, although still better than the live action specials turtles. Those were just so bad. So yeah, he'll go right here in the middle of F tier.
Watch and be amazed! Yeah! Ta-da!
Alright, now we're discussing the 2003 show's version of Donatello. This one, like the 1987 Turtles, is kind of similar in the way that all the turtles look very much like each other. So if you remember from the Leonardo and Raphael ranking videos, we ranked these 2003 turtles pretty high, and I think we're going to do the same here with Donatello. I said it before in those previous ranking videos, but I think the 2003 turtles are the best looking animated version of the Ninja Turtles that have come out so far throughout their history. The designs, especially from those early seasons, look pretty great. We'll see if it's ever topped. I think it can be, it just hasn't been done yet. But yeah, there's not really much to talk about that we didn't talk about in those other ranking videos. So yeah, we'll put Donatello there on S tier. We'll put him right under 2003 Raphael. You can see already a pattern starting to form there with the 1990 movie Turtles and the 2003 animated Turtles in S tier. I think that trend's gonna continue. Now, as we know, the designs of the 2003 Turtles changed as they went into their 6th season, titled Fast Forward. Now, those Fast Forward designs aren't as good in my opinion as the earlier seasons, and there's not much difference in his design when compared to his brothers. I think at this point we're just really going off who has the cooler chest plate thing. And Don's here looks cooler than Leo's, but not as cool as Raphael's, so we'll stick him in between the two, there in C tier. A big downgrade from the initial 2003 designs. It was around this time that I feel like animation was starting to play around with these really angular, edgy art styles with the characters that I just never really liked. I think it's a personal preference thing, because I see some people actually enjoy this style. Now, the final season of the 2003 show, titled Back to the Sewers, changed the design again, the one where they gave him the weird eyes. In this one, he pretty much looks like his brothers again, and we had put these designs in their ranking videos above the Fast Forward Turtles, just because they got rid of all those future accessories. I like my turtle simple, and in this, they try to go back to that, but in that newer angular style. So yeah, still in C tier, but a little higher. So next is Donatello from the Turtles Forever movie, and it looks like they did fix some elements in his design from the Back to the Sewers season. You can see that they started going back to what worked before with the all white eyes, and I like that they did that. So we'll put Donatello up here in B tier, so a little higher than the Back to the Sewers designs, and he can join his brothers there from the same movie.
What? You think I wouldn't have designed this thing to withstand lava? What kind of idiot do you think I am? Are there different kinds?
Alright, next we're moving on over to the 2007 TMNT movies version of Donatello, and the turtles all look so similar in this movie, so this is going to be a fast one. Only thing about this Don here that I think is worth mentioning, which was also the case in the 2003 Turtles by the way, is that he's missing his diagonal strap. Nothing major, but I thought it was kind of interesting that there was this period here where they weren't giving him that diagonal strap, but it's nothing major. We'll put him here in B tier with the other 2007 Turtles, but since he is missing that strap, we'll put him down here as the last one.
No, I'm not playing hard to get. I'm telling you, sir, it's not that kind of phone line.
Alright, next we're moving on over to the 2012 TV series version of Donatello. I think I mentioned in one of the other ranking videos that I'm not really into the 2012 designs, which is weird because I actually really like the show. I think it might be the best turtle show in terms of just like enjoying my time while I watch it. But the designs were always kind of weird to me. They're not the worst thing ever. I just feel like they could have been a lot better. Let's take a quick look at Donnie's design. He seems to be the tallest of the group in this version, which I feel like this is something that this version of the Turtles started and now has been done multiple times since. It's kind of like his thing now a lot of the time. The accessories are pretty normal turtle accessories: brown knee and elbow pads, the wraps, the belt, a regular Ninja Turtles headband. He's got the diagonal strap again, which is perfect for Don. One thing that this Donatello has different from the other turtles is that he's the only one with brown eyes. Also, this Donatello has a gap in his teeth, but yeah, that pretty much does it for all the big elements in his design. Now, where does this one fall? I feel the same for his design like I do with the others. Again, it's not the worst, but it could have been better, especially for how cool the show is. I'll put him right here with his 2012 brothers in B tier. The order doesn't really matter much, but I'll put him under Leo. But that's it for 2012 Donnie. Let's go ahead and move on over to the Michael Bay versions of the character.
Maybe if I can override...
Donatello, the time for games is over.
You're right. My brothers need me.
Wait. Here.
Alright, next we're moving on to the Michael Bay Turtles as they're known. These turtles definitely each have their own unique designs from one another. Donatello here has a bunch to talk about. As for his face and head, to me he's actually one of the better looking turtles in this movie. He has the regular style Ninja Turtles headband, and he's got those goggles on top, which we actually see more newer versions of the Turtles doing this as well with the character. He has glasses as well now. I've seen that some people don't like it when he has glasses and some people don't mind. Let me know in the comments, do you like Donatello with glasses or without? Usually I see people are pretty split on this, but I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Now we see that he does have nostrils, which again, I always see people fall into two camps with this as well. Either you like nostrils on the Ninja Turtles or you don't. I'm not particularly fond of the nostrils. I do see people say it's more realistic. I don't know, but to me it loses some of that Ninja Turtle charm. You see that he has some headphones and then gadgets and stuff covering his body. And yeah, it's just a lot. There's just too much on him for my taste. Like we mentioned earlier, I like a simple turtle design. There's just too many accessories here. Now, where does this Donatello fall on the tier list? Well, I like it better than the 2014 Raphael from the same movie. I think Donatello, yeah, looks cooler than that. So yeah, a tier above him, but I don't think he looks cooler than Leonardo from the same movie. So I'll put him under Leonardo there in the C tier. Now, Donatello's design changed a little bit for the second movie, Out of the Shadows. He's got cargo pants on now, and the accessories that cover him change a little bit as well. I don't like the Out of the Shadows designs as much in general, and that goes for all of the turtles. I just think they looked a little grittier in that first 2014 movie, and they did something to them in the second movie where they seem more colorful and the textures seem off. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put Donatello from Out of the Shadows down here in D tier with the other Out of the Shadows turtles.
Bam! System disabled! Who wants Italian? I'm buying! Tiramisu for everybody! Ah!
Alright, next we have Donatello from the 2018 Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles television show. Now, this Donatello kept the goggles on his head from the Bay Turtles, but now they gave him a bandana that covers his whole head, so like that pirate style. You can see he has a battle shell over his regular shell, since he's a soft shell turtle in this version. And yeah, you can see like his knee and elbow pads and things like that are all purple, so no brown leather on this one. Anyways, where does this Rise Donatello go on the tier list? Well, I do kind of like his stature. He looks a lot like Leonardo and Michelangelo, where they're all kind of like the same size, and I like that more than like how Raphael is so much bigger than them. Now, he's not as high as Rise Leonardo. Rise Leo has the cooler headband, and that Leo was at the bottom of C tier. So what I think we'll do is we'll go ahead and place Rise of the TMNT TV show Donatello here at the top of D tier, so a few slots above Rise of the TMNT TV show Raphael. Now, Rise of the TMNT did get a movie, as many of you know, and the Turtles did look a little cooler in that movie, for sure. They got like the black accessories, and all of their statures I feel like were improved a little bit. Rise movie Donatello will go up here at the top of C tier, so above Rise movie Raphael, but a tier below Rise movie Leonardo. So pretty much like the same thing we just did with the TV show versions, but a tier higher all around.
Fine. I feel very, that's two veries, annoyed when you eye roll at me.
Next up, we have Donatello from the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles movie that came out in 2019. And this design for Donatello reminds me a lot of the Donatello design from the 2012 Ninja Turtle show. The limbs look similar, the brown accessories, although in this Batman vs. Turtles movie, he does look a little edgier, which I like. The head shape on this Donatello, though, I always found kind of weird, too human-like. It's missing the puffed out cheeks that make that Ninja Turtle head shape. But overall, it's not one of my favorite designs, but I do like it. I think what they were doing in this movie with the Turtles is something that fans have been wanting. The tone, the atmosphere, they really nailed it with this film, and I would love to see these guys again in a sequel. Now, as we discussed, I do like this design just a little bit more than the 2012 Donatello, but not as much as Leonardo from this same Batman and Turtles movie. So I say let's put him here on B tier, just under Leonardo. That seems about right.
How did you get into this cave?
Oh, well, there weren't many security measures in the northern tunnel. We had to swim for a bit, but I'm realizing you don't actually want constructive criticism right now.
Alright, now we're at the newest movie version of Donatello from the recent Mutant Mayhem movie. I thought this looked pretty cool. It kind of looks like a 3D render of the 1987 show's version of the character. Regular Ninja Turtles bandana, back to the purple knee and elbow pads, although this version does have a newer element with him wearing glasses. So again, some people like this, some people don't. I don't mind it here. His design does look pretty good to me. It's simple. He looks like a Ninja Turtle, not some big wild reinvention, which I feel like we get too much of these days in other stuff outside of the Turtles as well. Now, as I just mentioned, it does remind me of a 1987 Turtle, so we'll put him right under them, and also under the Tales of the TMNT, Leo and Raph. Those designs just look a little cooler to me. So yeah, they're on A tier, not a bad place to be, and he is above Mutant Mayhem Raphael, just because Donatello has the regular Ninja Turtles headband. I feel like they should always go down this route. But yeah, there he goes, a good spot on the tier list. Let's check out the last design.
It's even better! Attack on Titan? Whoever locker this is likes anime. I don't even know this person, and they give me more than anyone ever has. Nice.
Alright, so Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Donatello, this should be pretty simple. His design stayed pretty consistent from 3D to 2D, so yeah, just in case you don't know, these Tales of the TMNT Turtles are the Mutant Mayhem Turtles, but in 2D. And I do like the 2D a little more. I don't know what it is. I think I just like 2D better or something. But yeah, we'll put him just right on top of Mutant Mayhem Donatello. They're pretty much even to me, but 2D is more my style when it comes to animation. As we discussed in the other rankings, many of these early versions of the Turtles are pretty much palette swaps of each other. I noticed palette swap designs have gotten hate in more recent years. I personally don't mind it. Many iconic characters came from being palette swaps of each other. I think it was just one of those things that you had to be there. There's something I enjoy about it. However, since the 1987 Michelangelo is just a palette swap of the other Turtles, it kind of removes the suspense from his ranking. We'll go ahead and place him here with the other 87 Turtles up on A tier. I thought these were pretty solid designs. Only difference in his design is his color, and I like orange a little more than purple, so we'll put him right there above Donatello from the same series. Now, we have a similar situation with this same Michelangelo, but from the Red Sky seasons. I didn't think these designs looked as good as the original designs for this show, so they're a tier below on B tier. We'll go ahead and put him above Donatello as well.
Oh, I think so much better on a full stomach. How about we take a pizza break, huh?
A pizza break?
Now, when it comes to the turtles from the first 90s live action movie, those turtles actually do feature different design elements for each of the turtles. Mikey's design from this movie does have a bit to talk about. First of all, he does seem to be the shortest out of the brothers. He always acts like the younger one, although they're all probably very similar in age. But yeah, him being the shortest reflects his role as baby brother. I wonder if this was intentional or just how it turned out. Anyways, his face design looks great. I feel like he looks the most like his 1987 show counterpart, but in live action, except he's a little grittier. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and put him up here with the rest of the 90s turtles up here in S tier, which was probably no surprise. But where does he fit amongst the other 90s turtles? Well, I like the other turtle designs from this movie just a little bit more. They're all great, but I prefer their proportions. But yeah, that's not to disparage this Mikey suit at all. It's still the best Mikey design of all time in my opinion, which is why it's up here on S tier. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Next up, we have Secret of the Ooze Michelangelo, and his design actually changed the least from the previous movie compared to the other turtles. Their designs changed a lot more. Anyways, because of this, I think he looks the best out of the four brothers in this movie. The other turtles, to me, when it came to this second movie, were a bit of a downgrade, but Michelangelo pretty much stayed the same for the most part. The only thing of note, really, is that he does look a little less gritty than the first movie, and the textures, especially in the torso area, seem a little stiffer, more plasticky or something. Anyway, still a great Michelangelo design. We'll go ahead and put him here at the top of A tier, above Raphael from the same movie.
Combat conquers!
Now, as many of you know, one of the things Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 is known for is that the turtle suits look much worse than they did in the first two movies. Now, Mikey's design, like the other turtles, also feels like a downgrade, with the liver spots being more prominent, a new stiffer texture for the skin, and the mouth and the eyes not looking as believable as they did in the last two films. But with all that said, again, like Secret of the Ooze Michelangelo, this Mikey, I think, held up the best with the changes. He still looked like a decent Ninja Turtle, especially when compared to the others. If you remember Leonardo, his head structure and everything looked significantly worse. But yeah, let's go ahead and rank him. I remember as a kid, I still liked the way Mikey looked when I would watch this movie, and I still kind of do. It's not great, so I think it's somewhere down here in C tier. You can see that Raphael from the same movie is in that tier. However, this Mikey, I think is a little higher than that. I'm going to put him here at the top of the tier. So yeah, there it goes.
Pizza. Got that, dude? Pizza. Ah, ooh, ah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the Turtle Specials version of Michelangelo. They had a bunch of live action specials in the 90s, and we'll keep this one quick. These were all so bad, so we'll put him here at the bottom on F tier with the rest of these turtles, but I'll put him above Don, which, by the way, this makes this version of Don the worst out of all the on-screen Ninja Turtles. But anyways, there you go. Mikey is right above him, making him the second worst looking turtle. Pretty wild.
Merry Christmas, one and all.
Ninja Turtles, now they're live.
Alright, speaking of terrible looking Ninja Turtles, we're now looking at Michelangelo from Ninja Turtles The Next Mutation, the 1997 show. There are some things to talk about with him. These turtles all had unique character designs, at least a little bit, mostly in the type of mask that they wore. You can see that this Michelangelo wore a mask somewhat similar to Donatello's, where it wraps around the side of his face and underneath his chin, except Mikey has the top of his head exposed. But other than that, it's pretty similar to Donatello's. So there you go. We'll put him on F tier, just above Donatello from the same series. At least this mask doesn't cover the top of his head. But that's not saying much. All these turtles look pretty bad.
Next caller.
Hi, my name's Jenny. My best friend's boyfriend is older, right? And he's always trying to talk us into doing drugs with him. He says that getting...
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtles, count it on.
Okay, so here we are with the 2003 version of Michelangelo, and like we saw in the previous ranking videos, these turtles, although they look fantastic, they're one of my favorite designs. With that said, they do look quite similar to each other, but we have them up here in S tier just because they look so good, and I'm going to put Mikey up there with them. And this is his design from the early seasons, by the way, which in my opinion is when they look the best. Let's put him there above Donatello. Now let's talk about the fast forward season. They changed the design a little bit as the show went on. And you can see here there is slight differences between the turtles. It's mostly just the little armor design that helps them like walk around in the future. And I think his is on par with Raphael. Now I like the red a little bit more than the orange, and that's just the color preference, so he'll go right under Raphael right there in tier C. Next came the Back to the Sewer season, and we might as well include the Turtles Forever movie too, since we're gonna do the same thing with both. Let's put the Back to the Sewers Michelangelo here above Back to the Sewers Donnie in tier C. So yeah, a little higher than the previous designs. I just like that they went back to basics. Only thing that's kind of weird about these is the eyes. And for the Turtles Forever movie Michelangelo, which kind of got rid of the eye problem, we'll go ahead and put him up here on B tier, as these designs from the movie did look better, at least to me, than the Fast Forward and Back to the Sewer season.
Hey, that's it! We should become superheroes! Squeeze me?
Okay, we got another quick one here, pretty predictable. All the turtles from the 2007 Ninja Turtle movies, except for some like minor differences, are pretty much palette swaps of each other again. So not too much to talk about here. If you didn't see the past ranking videos, the biggest takeaway from these designs, at least for me, is that they're pretty good. It's just the frog style limbs that start off narrow at the base and then kind of get thicker as you move closer to the hands and feet. That doesn't look good for me. That part I never really liked. I wish they had just like regular limbs. But yeah, they all have that issue. One small detail about this Michelangelo is he does have different color eyes from the rest of his brothers, but yeah, they're all pretty good, and they were up here on B tier, so I'll put him right there with them, right above Don.
I remember how they used to feel, busting up crime syndicates. Sure, they had a bunch of guns, but they weren't like these guns.
Okay, so now we're at the 2012's TV show version of Michelangelo. These turtles do have significantly different turtle designs. For one, Michelangelo is the shortest out of the brothers. Again, I feel like this kind of symbolizes him being the baby brother. This Michelangelo also has freckles and blue eyes, which is different from his brother, so they kept that going. The rest of the design, I'm not really crazy for. I do like that they got him wearing just like regular leather knee pads and accessories. That part's cool. The more simpler, the better when it comes to their accessories, and they did that here. But it's the angled design of these turtles that I never really liked. I don't know what it is. Even with other properties that tried this art style, it just never really looked that good to me. It almost looks unfinished or something. Anyways, with that said, I feel like this Michelangelo is the face of this series. I feel like he was plastered everywhere when this show was coming out, and he's got a really charming look to him. I think he's the best looking turtle out of the show. I'm gonna put him right here on B tier with the other 2012 turtles, but a little higher, right here under the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles Leonardo. Yeah, that seems about right.
Boom. Ha ha, oh yeah. Mikey put the sprinkles on that sundae.
All right, now we're here with the 2014 movie version of Michelangelo. Design-wise, this is one of my least favorite versions of Michelangelo. Let's go over some of the things real quick and rank him. You can see that he wears like a shell necklace with some sunglasses hanging off of them. He's also got like this crisscross strap going on across his chest, sweaters tied around his waist, and he's wearing shorts. And there's just kind of like a bunch of accessories everywhere, which I think looks bad. There's just too much going on here. And that was the case with the other turtles as well. So this is nothing new, but one of the things that stands out about this Michelangelo is that he is also, again, the shortest of the team, a trend that I feel like at this point had become like a staple of the character. I feel like they've done that ever since these past few versions did it. And yeah, they did it here. Anyways, where do we rank this Michelangelo? I think he's the worst looking out of the bunch, to be honest, especially in that one scene where he takes off his mask. He just looks too human looking. I think I'm going to drop him to F tier. We'll still put him at the top of F tier, but still not good. Then you have the follow-up to this movie, Out of the Shadows. Mikey's design here pretty much looks the same. Some accessories changed, like now he has a gold chain, and you can tell that some of the textures on the face have been messed with a little bit. I guess he maybe looks a little better. He's the only one I feel like improved a little bit from the first movie, but that's only just because he looks so bad in that first one. I'd put him here on D tier, right next to Raph from the same movie.
Chill, it's just a mask. See? Don't freak out. Oh, hell. Right?
Alright, now we're heading into the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles version of Michelangelo. He got two designs. He's got the 2018 TV show design, and then he's got the 2022 Rise movie design. First up, the show's design. The show went very angular with all the turtle designs. They got like sharp edges. It's almost like the fast forward designs and Back to the Sewers designs, but like mixed and modernized. It's not my favorite type of art style when they do the sharp edges like that, but at least his proportions are okay. He's not super giant and hulking like Raphael from this same series, which I didn't like as much. He's got a regular Ninja Turtles style bandana, which is a plus, and you can see that he has little orangish yellow circles on different parts of his skin. His torso area has some painted shapes on it, like little lightning bolts, and he's got this interesting diagonal strap across his chest with a T emblem on it. I think it stands for turtles. All the turtles have this little emblem. And yeah, you can see also his shell is a bit different than previous versions. It's like this teal gray color with an orange circle pattern on it. Anyways, I like this Mikey about as much as I liked Leo from the same series, which is right here on the bottom of C tier. I just wasn't a huge fan of these designs. They're not the worst, but I feel like there was a lot that came before this that were better. So yeah, we'll put them right there next to Leo. Now, as for the Rise movie, just like the other Turtles, this was a significant upgrade in my opinion. It's a much better design. They just changed a few things, but it makes a big difference. I feel like if they had started with this design and had more of the tone that the movie had, but in the show, at least more consistently, because there were episodes that were kind of like the movie, but there wasn't enough of them. Anyways, yeah, if they would have had these designs with that tone more consistently in the show, I feel like the show would have lasted a lot longer. Maybe they'll get another Netflix movie in the future, we'll see. But yeah, I'll put this movie Rise Mikey right here on B tier, right under Leo from the same movie.
And Raph thought I couldn't do this all by myself. Ah! Solo mission complete.
Mikey, we're here to rescue you, buddy.
Right now we're checking out Mikey from the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles 2019 movie. This Mikey is solid. I don't remember if I said this in any of the other ranking videos when I covered these turtles, but I kind of wish we would have got a show based off of these turtles, or at least a sequel to this movie. This design is pretty straightforward. It's almost like they combined the 2003 turtles with the 2012 turtles, and bam, you get this, and I dig it. I think Mikey might be the best looking turtle in the movie. His proportions just look the best to me. We'll go ahead and put him right here on A tier, right under the 87 turtles. They were onto something with this Mikey design, and the other turtles too, but Mikey is the closest to how I feel you could do a new, really well-received Turtles movie or show nowadays, in the tone of how they do the Invincible show.
Everybody run! There's a crazy guy in a batsuit who's trying to kill us!
Alright, now we're here with Michelangelo from the Mutant Mayhem movie universe. You can see straight off the bat, he's the shortest out of the bunch, and the design is pretty simple, but I like that. They didn't overcomplicate it. I would have liked to see a little bit more muscle on him, and I think that was a complaint I had with most of the turtles from this universe. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it in the other rankings, but these turtles are all a different shade of green, which kind of reminds me of some of the old figures from back in the day. Mikey's green is more of a forest green, and he's got orange knee and elbow pads, kind of bringing us back to how we started in the 1987 show from back in the day. And yeah, I think this design is pretty good. I think I'll put him up here on A tier with Mutant Mayhem Don right underneath him. Don's proportions are a little better in my opinion. I think Mikey's head is a little too big or something, but yeah, not a bad spot.
What's our last name?
I've never thought about that actually. I don't know.
Do we not have last names?
It's okay, I'll just break it up. Michelangelo.
And last up, we're talking about the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2024 show version of Mikey. And this is the same Mikey we just talked about from the Mutant Mayhem universe, but it's in 2D. It's the show that they do in between the movies. I'm going to go ahead and put him under Donatello from the same series, and this is just above their Mutant Mayhem counterparts. And that's just because it's 2D. I'm more of a fan of 2D animation, so that's why it's just slightly above those for me. But other than that, it's pretty much the same.
But look at the bright side, though. It probably won't get worse than this.
We could get struck by lightning.
But yeah, that pretty much does it for this ranking video, and this closes out all of our rankings on every on-screen Ninja Turtle. Let us know what you think. Who's your favorite looking on-screen Ninja Turtle of all time? Who's number one? Would love to see who you guys have at the top of the list. But thank you for watching. Remember to follow on all the socials, subscribe if you're new and you want more Turtles content like this in your life, and I will see you all in a little bit with another video. Take care.
Come back here! I'm not finished with you! Damn!